Good morning, everyone. It's so nice to see everyone and people on Zoom. And thank you so much for being here. I ended up having a lot to say, and we're starting a little late. So if I run over and you need to leave, please just leave. It just ended up, I guess I haven't talked for a long time, so found out I had a lot to say. I'm gonna look at this koan today. Case 3 of the Blue Cliff Record, and this book, Tom Cleary's translation of the Blue Cliff Record, he named it Secrets of the Blue Cliff Record, but that's not the name of the Blue Cliff Record. It's the Heikigan Roku. Heikigan Roku means Roku is record, Blue Cliff Record. So it's just the Blue Cliff Record. Tom Cleary decided to say this was secrets. It's secrets and it's completely exposed. The koan is sun-faced Buddha, moon-faced Buddha. Great Master Ba was unwell. The superintendent of the temple asked, "How is your health these days?" The great master said, "Sun-faced Buddha, moon-faced Buddha." So I initially chose this because there's the Zen Center has had a run-in with the COVID, and so happy Mushin and Kosei made it to the talk, so I guess you're feeling better. And but it made me think about sickness and how we work with sickness. And the other thing that's going on is this is the beginning of the Rohatsu week, which is the week of Buddha's awakening. Some people say a week, some people say 90 days. But traditionally, in a monastery, everyone sits for 7 days from the first, this is the fourth now, to the eighth being Rohatsu, which is the eighth, which is the day of Buddha's awakening. So one thing I really wanted to say is there is such a thing as an awakening experience. It is a real thing, and that's what Buddhists, for Buddhists, it's maybe the core of our practice. Many might argue with me, but I'll say in the spirit of Rohatsu, it's the core, this experience of waking up. And the aspect of it is that it's ungraspable. So talking about it is very difficult, but it's a real thing that happens. And I wanted to say that Zazen is an essential part of the awakening experience for us, for Zen, particularly Zen practitioners. So the Buddha finally said, he wasn't Buddha, he was Shakyamuni, Prince Shakyamuni, finally said, I give up. He practiced, Hindu practices and ascetic practices, starving himself, and he just said, I give up. I'm just going to sit here under the Bodhi tree until I see it. So he had the faith there was something, but he hadn't had the experience. So he sat for 8 days, and on the 8th day, he looked at the morning star and woke up, had that experience. And that is not something that just happened to the Buddha. Some religions kind of have one figure who woke up and then we worship them or something. But Buddha, what he said when he woke up was, wonder of wonders, all beings have the wisdom and compassion of the Buddha. All beings intrinsically are awake, but because of upside down thinking, they don't see it. Upside down thinking being that I'm separate from everybody else, that I exist, that my little bundle of greed, anger, and ignorance is a real thing. So waking up is waking up to that no self. And it's wonderful. It's freedom, complete freedom. So nowadays, sometimes I hear, well, waking up is just seeing that everything is it. It's just like intellectually realizing everything is it, or the laughter of waking up is there is nothing to wake up to, but there is an experience. That's what I want to tell you. That's how I teach. And that's how Maizumi Roshi taught. He felt that the Soto school had gotten lopsided in emphasizing your life as it is perfect, which is true. And that's the precept work, and that's part of our practice. But forgetting that part about there's an experience and it will change your life, completely change your life because of the upside down thinking. And for most people, you know, I think about that, the green flash. Here, living by the ocean, the green flash is such a deal. And people are like, did you see the green flash? Well, I see the green flash every time the sun sets. When there's no clouds, there's a green flash. But a lot of times it's no big deal at all. It's just a little green around the sun. And finally, I saw someone took a picture of the green flash. And I went, yeah, that's what I call the green flash. So, but many people say, I've never seen the green flash because they think it's like the whole world turns green or something. I don't know what they think. So this experience is very different depending on our karma, or depending on who we are and what our practice is and what our path is. And it's hard to judge people's experience. But this is a point that this koan talks about too. But I want you to know that it is a thing. It's an experience. It's not an idea. And it happens. And the way, there's no like, you know, like baking a cake. You follow all these directions and you get a cake. It depends on our karma, how it happens. But for us, Zazen is a big part of having that experience. I just started doing a couple hypnosis programs, which are really helping me. One about chronic pain and one about sleeping, which are connected. But what I'm learning about hypnosis is the first part of hypnosis is totally relaxing. And then the hypnotist plants ideas that change patterns that create pain or worry or whatever, keeping us up. And I'm not at all saying Zazen is hypnosis. Please do not say that. But Zazen is like that in terms of this waking up. Is doing Zazen, we quiet down, we quiet our ideas and concepts. We do that complete relaxation, especially when we do it for a long time. So that's why the Rahatsu is 8 days of Zazen. And at some point, we're in the leg pain and our mind is so busy and we get caught up in worry and hatred and I want and all the things that happen while we're sitting zazen. And they happened to Buddha too. He had beautiful women who were tempting him, and his father came and said, you have to come and save the country. He had all of these things come up, but we stay there. We don't act on them. We stay sitting. No matter what comes up, we stay sitting. And at some point, the shift happens. And Yasutani Roshi said, 99%, it's as easy to miss as it is the floor when you take a step. But the zazen's a big part of it. So seeing into koan, many people study koans intellectually or philosophically, and that's interesting. But the koans is another part of our practice. So the zazen, to quiet down and let go of patterns and ego. And then the koans can work as a turning word. So in that quiet place of zazen, to hear a koan can be a shift for awakening. And this koan is a perfect example. Let me read the introduction, which it just further talks about what I'm talking about. One device, one state, one word, one phrase. So this very moment, without self, just this. The aim for the moment is for there to be a place to enter. So how does that happen? How do you get enlightened? Where's the place to let go of our little self and realize no self? But even to say this is gouging a wound in healthy flesh. To talk about, like I just did, the process of awakening and what you do to awaken and all of that, that's something extra. Let's just be here. Let's really be here. And what is here is no self, or that awakening. If we talk about it, it can become a nest or a den. So if we're practicing with ideas, if we have an idea of what it is, anything about life, it's love everybody, it's have good boundaries, it's always do things for others. Whatever idea we have about enlightenment is a little nest for us. So then we become the person who always talks about this or that, and a little nest, a little home, a little den, a little safe place. And in fact, awakening, not to say it isn't safe, it's just completely open to everything. And that's safe. That's the safety. To not be worried about this is going to happen or that's going to happen, or how am I going to do this, or I have to do this. Just to be completely open to everything in every moment. And incidentally, I do not do this, but I have experienced it. And so these experiences, like I said, like the green flesh, they might be kind of small, and definitely then we're back in our nest. We have this experience of amazing fullness of the moment, and then we start thinking about this or that, and we're back in our nest. So we keep practicing. That's why practice is forever. When the great function manifests, it does not keep to rules. So again, ideas and concepts, there's no rule that can tell us what to do. The precepts guide us, But theoretically, if we're completely in the moment, then the next step is obvious. So anyway, when the great function manifests, it does not keep to rules. The aim for the moment is knowledge of the existence of the transcendent, which covers heaven and earth, but cannot be grasped. So talk about gouging healthy flesh, the existence of the transcendental, but he can't help it. Because when you talk about it, it gets lost, which is what he's trying to say. He, I think, probably could have been a she, we don't know, cannot be grasped. So like I'm just blathering on about what it is, but don't hang on to anything I say. Experience it. How to experience it? Best way I know, do Zazen. Do a lot of Zazen. You really need to settle. You really need to empty the mind to really be it. When thus will do and not thus will do too, that is too diffuse. When thus won't do and not thus won't do either, that is too isolated without getting involved in the dualism, which is correct. So sometimes when you hear teachers speaking, they say it's this and it's that. It's not this or that, it's this and that. That's like a super wise thing to say. But that's an idea. And he says that's too diffuse. But then sometimes we say it's not this and it's not that. So which is it? Awakening or manifesting or whatever. Well, it's not that or it's not that. And we say that as the nature of awakening. It's both or it's neither. Or we can say it's both and it's neither. All of that makes no sense. And it's nothing to do with waking up to the moment. So what is correct is just to be. But like I say, it's like mindfulness is an aspect of practice. But just being doesn't mean just be aware of every moment and everything that's going on, that kind of mindfulness. It's talking about the awakening experience that Buddha had, which is available for each of us. So the koan, great master Ba was unwell. And if you recall, the reason Buddha started practicing was because his question was, why is there suffering? Why is there suffering? And he defined suffering as old age, sickness, and death. And Master Ba, in this case, is on his deathbed. So he's old, he's sick, and he's getting ready to die. And of course, the superintendent of the temple, who's a student of Master Ba, of course, he's very upset. He's grieving. He's worried. He's afraid. He's afraid about his own death. He's looking at old age, sickness, and death. So when he says, "How is your health these days?" It's a huge existential question. It's why is there suffering? What about me? What is death? And there's grieving, there's sadness, there's despair that any of us feel when someone we love passes. And the great master said, sun face Buddha, moon face Buddha. So everything is Buddha. That's the realization in words, which isn't it, but that's one way to talk about it. Everything is Buddha. Sometimes it's the sun, sometimes it's the moon. This time of year is probably why Buddha got enlightened and Christ was born. this time of year. Hope was born in both of those religious, spiritual traditions. This time of year, the darkness is larger than the lightness. And we may think the darkness is worse, right? When we talk about the shadow or the darkness, or that's the bad thing. And the sun, the brightness, is the good thing. But they're just two aspects of Buddha, just like the sun and the moon are two aspects of Buddha, or sickness and health. But that's not to say that it's dualistic. So being sick is totally Buddha. And having everything go right, I finally got my stove, which I've been waiting a month for. Costco doesn't deliver well in Mexico, by the way. So I'm really happy today. Today's a happy day because my stove's coming. And that is Buddha, the happiness, the sadness, the grief. But again, talking about it doesn't even begin to touch it. Experiencing it, and then that initial experience, and then having that with us all the time in the midst of tragedy or the midst of great happiness. Just this, and knowing our true self. Oh, I love what Choa wrote in the fundraising letter. He said, Sweetwater Zen Center exists to help wake up the true authentic self. I think I like it because it's not like I have to wake it up. It wakes up because I give it a little space, just a little teeny tiny bit of space for my yada, 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 yada of everything. It's too dark. I don't have a stove, but my dogs are learning how to behave now, yada, yada, yada. Calm that down, shut up, and allow the authentic self to wake up. And what the Zen Center offers, what the Zen Center is a place to do that. And there's several aspects of things that help wake up, but the big one is Zen. Unfortunately, because a little bit of meditation is pretty cool, but a week of meditation, and that's rough because we come face to face with all the stuff we're hanging on. So anyway, and if trouble seeing through koans, which this koan, oh my goodness, Miyoyu Roshi did this koan for her Shuso Hosen, and she's brilliant. She's spiritually brilliant, and I just had no idea what it was about. And everybody said she did such a good job and stuff, and I was just like, I do not get that koan at all. Well, the more you practice, so that's where koans help. So if you want to do koan practice, empty yourself out, and then these little sayings can really hit. So it's not this, it's not that, it's not this, and not that. That can become an intellectual thing, or it can just hit. That's what Nagarjuna said. All ideas are false, including this one. That can hit and wake us up. And best to be prepared by doing a lot of Zazen. So I didn't do too bad. I like to talk 20 minutes. Oh, but I did because we were late. So I did good. If I say so myself. So anything to add or questions?